Hi everybody, it's been a while since I've been here on YouTube, but I posted something over on stories on Instagram talking about dating advice and divorce and love and finding new love. And you guys sent lots of questions, so I'm gonna answer those right here. How do you avoid codependency in a relationship? That's a good question, and also an interesting question, because it is very easy to fall into what you think is just relationship habits and patterns, and it winds up being codependency. So I think you have to start early, and if you've not started early, it's okay, there's a way to fix that. But you've got to maintain independence in a couple of different areas. And I think one of those areas is self-care. Another one of those is planning, when you're planning out a week. And also with regard to friends, I think you have to make sure you don't lose friendships because you have a relationship. And I've been guilty of that myself, thinking like, I'll get to my girlfriends, they're always gonna be there because there's some guy in the picture. You've got to make sure that you have those dates with your girlfriends as well as, you know, with whoever you're seeing at that point or whoever you're in a relationship with. And when it comes to self-care, make sure you take that time for yourself, whether it's going to yoga, whether it's meditating, which I have a hard time with, but I try to do, whether or not it's just going for a walk, but making sure that your plans don't always have to include that other person. Just because you're not with somebody 24/7 doesn't mean the relationship's not working. Some really good questions. How do you tell if you really like someone or the idea of them in your life? This is so important. I mean, look, at the end of the day, it comes down to what you know deep in your gut. But if the only reason you feel like you're with somebody is because you're posting pictures, because you've got somebody to go out with on a Friday and Saturday night, because you get to tell your friends, I've got a girlfriend or I've got a boyfriend, that's not a reason to be in a relationship. You have to be okay with the things that are not so pretty on the outside, with the time that you're with that person alone and by yourself, when there's nobody else around, when there's no other reason except the two of you are sitting there on the couch and you can still enjoy that time with somebody. I think it is so important to, I mean, you shouldn't have to search that deep for it, but I think it's so important for you to look inside and make sure that you don't feel lonely when you're with somebody. I felt that way before. It's a terrible feeling. If you feel like that, then you're probably with somebody for the wrong reasons. How is dating in your 50s different than your 40s? Well, I've done both. Actually, I wound up getting married when in the middle of my 50th year, but I've done both. So let's talk about that. 40s is an interesting time because 40s is fun. And I found 50s has been even more fun for me. But 40s is interesting because a lot of the time you've perhaps been in other relationships. So I think what's really important is to make sure you do not carry any of that over. So you don't have any kind of bitterness in that new relationship or have any expectation because of the life experience you've had. I think in your 40s, you know who you are, you're a little more free with yourself. I think your value system has definitely been established, so you know what you will and you won't accept. And then in your 50s, it's even more so, and I feel like there's a little more freedom in that because most of the time you're perhaps not getting into a relationship for the first time, and you might also not have the pressure on yourself of maybe wanting to have children. And in your 50s, for me anyway, I knew that's where I was. I wasn't trying to have children at that point, and I felt like the pressure was off of me then. So I was really focused on who I was going to be with, and there weren't any other factors involved in that decision making. One last question, and then we will do this again, I promise. And if you have questions, leave them over on Instagram stories. I'm going to post so you can leave them there, and then I can just pull them off of there and see them. Is it normal to be anxious about getting married? Yes, it's very normal. Yes, it's normal. It's funny. So when I got married the first time, my father reminded me of this and I didn't know it. I was walking down the aisle. We were at Tavern on the Green and we got married in this courtyard area. So we're walking down the aisle and I said to my dad, am I doing the right thing? And he goes, do you think you're doing the right thing? And I said, I think so. And I remember there was family there and there were so many people there and so many of our friends there. And I must have known in my gut that I wasn't doing the right thing. When I got married to Ira, I was so excited about the day, like, oh my gosh, this is gonna be a party and we're gonna have a great time and it's gonna be fun. And was I anxious? Yeah, I was like a little bit nervous. You're making a big commitment. You're committing to be with somebody. You're committing to be with that person, hopefully for the rest of your life. And so it's normal to be anxious about getting married. but it's more normal to be anxious and excited about getting married. And so look at that inside and make sure that that's what it is, but don't question yourself at all about being anxious a little bit, just anxious in the right way. I think it's actually an exciting time, and it's really, really important that you're thinking about those things and that you know what you want. And I knew when I said yes and when I married Ira, that was what I wanted. But yeah, that little anxiousness, those little butterflies are totally normal. Okay, this has been great. I love talking to you guys. I love hearing what you have to say, asking questions, telling me your thoughts. So leave your comments over on Instagram. I'm posting on Instagram stories. I'll make sure we do that, and then we'll answer them right here on YouTube. I'll see you soon.